Hello, I hope you are staying safe and warm. So, we obviously the campus has moved to on an online platform as we anticipated that they would, um, because of this inclement weather that we're having, these extremely cold temperatures with precipitation. And that's not a problem because we are prepared to do that. So please notice that we are still in module one. And if we would have been meeting in person, this is what we would have been doing. We already went over our lecture materials for this module, The Power of Literacy. And we watched the video called Closing the Word Gap. You were also supposed to complete the discussion board, make your post and make your response. So now we are actually going to be moving on to, we also discussed the field experience. And I'll let you know that you will not be receiving your field placement until the third week of school, possibly even the fourth week of school, now that we've had, some delays at this point with the inclement weather. But that's okay. We're still going to go ahead and we're going to build our understanding of what the expectations are once you get into the field. So if you feel like you need a refresher on what the field experience expectations are, please go ahead and just click right here where it says observation field experience. It'll take you straight there to those expectations and you can read through those again and look at the forms again. Please make note of any questions that you may have regarding the field experience expectations if you need to refresh on those. And you will have an opportunity when we meet in person again next week to ask those questions and get real-time answers on those. For the purposes of our module this week, we're going to be focusing on this task called the teaching cycle with pre-assessment. And I want you to notice that we're actually going to spend several weeks where I'm going to be explaining to you what this is and what it entails, what you have to do for it. So just keep that in mind. So the teaching cycle with pre-assessment, this module, we're only going to be focusing on task one of this assignment. During module one, we will begin the major assessment called teaching cycle with pre-assessment. We're going to be, again, in module one, we're going to be focusing on task one. There are actually 3 tasks that we will do for it. The videos, so this particular video is a video by Dean Auger, and she details the relevance, the rationale. She's going to review the rubric and the instructions for completing it. I want you to ignore all the due dates in this video. She calls it stage 2 here. It's the same thing. Stage 2 is the same as the teaching cycle. We use those terms interchangeably. This is the first time that you will do this. You will do it again in Education 400. You will do it again in practicum, and then you will do it again in residency. So that's what we call it stage 2, is because eventually you'll have a stage 1 and a stage 3 and a stage 4. But for now, we're just focusing on stage 2, teaching cycle with pre-assessment. And this module, we're just talking about task 1 of that stage. So ignore all the due dates. They do not pertain to this semester. However, the content of how she is explaining the task and the examples that she provides are your expectations for completing this. You can actually skip ahead to about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I think it's around slide 7. And this is where she's actually going to give you an overview of the full teaching cycle with pre-assessment. Then she's going to jump into what is required for task 1, and you need to go ahead and finish the video out. The total video is about 28 minutes, so it'll require about 25 minutes for you to fully watch the video. So then once you finish the video, you need to look at the other materials in this folder. After viewing it, go through and look at the hard copies. So for example, She's going to be showing you some screenshots, but right here, this is what we're talking about. This is the hard copy, teaching cycle with pre-assessment instructions template. Go through and look at that. That's the actual assignment and the templates that she provides. You also need to read through the rubric. So I have this one highlighted right here as well. Sorry, I'm not going to pull it up right now. You could do that yourself, but go ahead and look through the rubric. Again, in the video, she's going to be giving you screenshots of the rubric and reviewing it with you. But by looking at these two things, it will help you recalibrate with what's expected in task 1. Then I recommend you won't need anything else in this folder right now. So it's only these two things that I'm pointing at. Teaching cycle with pre-assessment rubric, teaching cycle with pre-assessment instructions template. So for task 1, it's just those two things. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff in this folder. We'll cover it next module. However, I do recommend that you look at the samples. So I think most of you are English and social studies teachers. So you're only going to be looking at the task 1 portions. Okay. So ELA task 1. And this shows you some examples of, and some exemplars actually, of what you will be doing. So some of these are task 2 and task 3. Don't worry about those. We will be able to look at those later. Just for task 1, just look at what pertains to your content area. Feel free to look at some of the other content areas if you would like. But I recommend that you only focus on task 1 so that you don't get too ahead of yourself. Because we'll cover task 2 and task 3 next module, in module 2. Okay. So there are some social studies examples here, and there are some English examples here as well. There are also some other content examples. So I tried to put a lot here for you to see. Again, only focus on task 1. So once you've done those things, what you need to do is make a list of any questions that you might have regarding teaching cycle with pre-assessment, also known as stage 2, task 1. Next week in class, we'll have an opportunity to address those questions. So you will not begin actually doing this work until you get your field placement, because you're going to have to collaborate with your mentor and that field placement focus class. However, I wanted to go ahead and start explaining it to you so that you could understand the expectations before you get to the field, so you'll know exactly how to jump in, because this is actually your first field assignment when you get to the field placement. Okay, so I think that should wrap us up for module 1. So again, go back and brush up on anything that we did last week that you haven't taken care of or that you need a little bit more explanation on. And then right here, this folder, teaching cycle with pre-assessment, that's what you need to be covering tomorrow. All right. Stay safe, stay warm, make a list of any questions you may have, and we can address them in class next week. Bye-bye.